1 egg. And we need about a half a cup of milk. Now I'm doing four steaks. I'm using organic, just whole milk. I'm doing 4 steaks, so if you had 6 steaks, probably 4 or more, you're going to want more milk and another egg. And I'm just going to get this all whipped up, and then we're going to put our steaks into the milk and the egg. And this is just steak that's been run through a cuber, or it's been tenderized. And we're just going to flip these around and get the egg on both sides of the meat. Always start out with clean hands. And we're going to let this sit at room temperature for about 15 mashed potatoes. We'll be back. I use yellow potatoes because you don't have to peel them, and it's just a lot less work. So I'm making mashed potatoes for 2 people. If you are making mashed potatoes for a family of 4 or 5 or 6 even, you would want more potatoes. So I'm just going to cube these up and get them in some boiling water and boil them for 15 to 20 minutes. And you don't have to cut them small. They can just be regular size. We're going to make our flour dredge for the chicken fried steak, and this is my grandmother's recipe for the seasoned flour that we're going to dredge it in once we remove it from the egg wash. And the way you do it is you dip it in the egg wash, you dip it in the flour, you dip it in the egg wash, you dip it in the flour. So you're going to do 2 dredgings. So we're going to need a 1.5 cups of AP flour, or all-purpose. And this is organic flour I'm using. You don't need to level anything off. This is a dredge. You're not baking. A little bit more. Okay. So I've just got a Ziploc bag here, and I'm going to eyeball. I will try to do an exact measurement and put it in a recipe format so that you can print off the recipe, but this is just what I do. I usually don't read a recipe when I'm cooking. I just cook. So I'm going to use some thyme. Thyme is a spice that goes with any beef dish. So if you're using beef, this is probably an ingredient that you're going to want to, a staple you're going to want to have in your pantry. We're going to do garlic powder. I'm going to use poultry seasoning. black pepper. I use a little bit of Creole seasoning. I'm going to use a little bit of paprika. If you have smoked paprika, that's going to be better. And then we're going to use some Lawry's seasoned salt. Okay, then we're going to take the dredge, the flour dredge, and we're going to just mix it up in the bag. You don't necessarily need to seal it, but I'm just mixing up the flour. You want to always season your flour, not your meat, when you're frying or deep frying or anything like that. Your season should be in the breading and not seasoned on the meat, because what happens is when you put it in the wet, the seasoning is going to leave the protein. Always put it in your flour. Okay, we're gonna go get our steaks. We're gonna dredge them, and we're gonna get them in. The way we do that to see if it's up to temperature is we're gonna take a pinch of our flour, and we're gonna sprinkle it into the grease. And if it sizzles, it's ready to go. It's not sizzling yet. If it sizzles when you drop your flour into your grease, it's ready to fry. You can also use a thermometer, which I have. I'm just not going to take time to use it. And you're going to want this on 350 degrees or between 350 and 375. You want the meat to, if you have a deep fryer, you could use that. I find with deep fryers, the chicken fried steak, it leaves a lot of residue in my deep fryer, and it's only good for one time, so I typically use a skillet. If you have an iron skillet, that's even better. Which I do have, I just haven't pulled it out to use it. And you want your oil to be very hot when you put this meat in it. You don't want it to be, you know, cold and let it absorb a lot of the grease. So I've got it on like a medium high. So let's go over here and we will get our meat that's been sitting. And sometimes you'll have this where the meat just wants to fall apart on you. It's okay, you can do little pieces. So I just dredge it in the flour, dredge it back in the egg, dredge it back in the flour. And I wear a glove because I don't like the way this feels, but you don't necessarily have to do that. I just do it. My grandmother always used a paper bag to dredge everything in. And this piece is going to fall apart on me, but it's okay. Who doesn't like pieces of chicken fried steak? Make sure and only put a couple of pieces in your fryer at a time. Unlike chicken, you can crowd it, but you really need to work with only a few pieces in your fryer. Okay, our mashed potatoes are done. I'm going to have half a stick of butter, some sour cream, probably 1/4 cup. If you like more sour cream, feel free. I'm going to take some garlic powder and some salt. I'm using pink salt. A little bit of whole milk. And we're going to mash it up. pepper. Okay, so now we're going to make our gravy. I've rendered off, or I've removed the most of the grease, and this is just the bits from the chicken fried steak. We're going to add about a tablespoon of flour. I recommend using a wooden spoon, but feel free to use whatever you like. And all the flour is going to do is just thicken it up. We're going to add about a cup of milk, cup and a half of milk. I'm using whole milk. We're going to add a little bit of salt. And a little bit of black pepper. You're going to bring this to a boil and then turn it down low. When it starts to bubble, you're going to turn it down low. And that flour is going to help tighten that up, and it'll be thick, a thick gravy. And then you'll have all the bits from the meat in the gravy. So we'll bring this up to temperature, and then we will get our plates ready. Turn it down low. And there's your cream gravy right there. I'll turn the stove off. Okay, we're going to serve up. There it is. Okay, there is your chicken fried steak, some homemade dinner rolls, and carrots. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, if you want to follow recipes that I promote and make myself, we have a Facebook page. It's Pots, Pans, and Pioneers on Facebook. I'll leave the link below.